just as interesting because from the air they also become very visible. There were a couple of painters in the beginning that I sort of relate to a little bit. That was Fred Williams, was one painter who often had that aerial perspective with very sparse dot-like things on it. And I knew his wife. She came over here after Fred died, and she was at a retrospective here. We met her, and she said that Fred had one of the early books that we did with Peter Slater called The Hidden Face of Australia. I found that as an Australian painter, he certainly appealed to me, so many others as well, but Fred Williams in particular. Also, then there is the other one, sort of, that is so minimal, there could be, the other extreme is probably Rothko, the painter that has only got 2 squares, or that is something like the red or the lake around the corner of with the pink and grey. I think, you know, that's what's there, and that has something to say, and there's something to say about design and about the reality. And I think, for me, that optic reality, that what is there, I find that sacred. I don't want to alter that. I don't use Photoshop. I want to only emphasize. One of the reasons I can emphasize the strength of a certain landscape or a certain design within the landscape is that I take the horizon out of the picture. If I have the horizon in the picture, it becomes a landscape, then you have a point of reference. And your eye starts wandering about backwards and forwards, as where if you're confronted with the image of looking straight down or looking on an oblique angle, then you have to look at it and say, yeah, I like that, or so there are various ways of projecting and strengthening the image that you can see flying over it. There are certain rules. It can be very rough sometimes in plane, hot air rising, and the camera bounces up and down in front of you. It's not very pleasant. I can still get airsick if the conditions are extreme, and I try to photograph. The haze buildup also is another factor. So sometimes I can photograph at 1,000 feet. The average height is probably about 1,500 feet, which is about 500 meters. About 6 weeks ago, we went to Lake Eyre, and I was able to go up to, or we were able to go up to about 6,000 feet. And they're sort of rare moments that you know can have a different view of the landscape, because it does make a difference the higher you are. That's also one of the reasons when I fly east-west or whatever, I like to have a window seat to discover certain angles of the landscape that I think could be of interest and I should visit later on. I also sometimes, well, I do use the map, various maps that I have, where sometimes you get an indication of what might be interesting to visit, so you do that. So there is a great variety in possibilities, and I find that is what I like to do. I want to continue. The last trip was from Brisbane to Birdspool, and I managed to photograph some flooding and at Coopers Creek and at the Diamantina, and that will be exhibited in the Holmes Accord Gallery, which I have an exhibition on the 27th, 28th of August this month, and that is more commercial. Actually, people can buy, which is very good. So when I go overseas, I have no desire to photograph other than to take a few candid shots into the air. I think it's so nice for me to concentrate. Well, I think it is interesting and it is necessary for me at the age I am that I sort of complete the journey through Australia. I like that very much. So there are always new landscapes. The last time, 3-4 months ago, we're trying to get a series of pictures from between Adelaide and Melbourne, and with the bad weather came in and we couldn't do it. So then we had to go north. We went to the Flinders Ranges, we went to other areas, and we find something else. But it's sometimes difficult to program yourself and to hope that you get pictures. Tasmania, particularly the west coast part of Tasmania, was extremely difficult, but eventually I managed to get something from there too. But yeah, it is. You have to go with the flow. You're not really entirely in control, and that is a good thing too. You know, so you've got to adjust to the conditions. But if you persevere and you find there are other avenues, you never know what you're going to see. The areas that, like New Zealand, probably you can take a high point of view. You can slowly climb a mountain. You can see the landscape also coming out. You see the landscape here coming out of the horizon. We don't have that in Australia. Even if you go to Mount Kosciuszko, by the time you get on top, it's not spectacular. It's a worn down landscape, and okay, in Ayers Rock sticks out, and some landscape in the Kimberley and the Pilbara, but it's nothing like what you could see in Switzerland, New Zealand, Europe, or America, or some of the other countries. So we have to accept the fact is that Australia, being the most worn down continent, has got that problem. But what is here is definitely unique. Whatever you see here, you don't see anywhere else in the world. And that, to me, was a very important thing. I think in the beginning, we tried to emulate or compare Australia. I know some of the early photographers compare Australia with America or Europe. We don't have the Mississippi, we don't have the Amazon, we don't have rivers like that, we don't have mountains in Switzerland. So I realized that you have to accept what is here. And the first book I did with Peter Slater, the bird photographer, was called The Hidden Face of Australia, where we tried to find the uniqueness that was here. And I think that was the sort of starting point of trying to come to terms with a country that is so different. The fact is probably that I came from Holland helps a bit, because you're suddenly confronted with an immense landscape that you know nothing about. As where if you were born here, you probably gradually grow up and you get accustomed to it. But when you arrive here as a 24-year-old like I did, then it's a bit of a shock. But also it's an interesting confrontation. You know? So it was really good.